Imagine having the power to end your own pain in a single second. The power to stop every drop of blood, silence every insult, and walk away from it all, and choosing not to use it. That is not weakness. That is the most terrifying kind of strength the world has ever seen. And that is exactly what happened on that Friday afternoon, on a hill outside Jerusalem, 2,000 years ago. We are not talking about an ordinary man who died for a cause he believed in. History is full of those. We are talking about the Son of God, the one who spoke light into existence, the one who carved the mountains, filled the oceans, and breathed life into the first human being. The one who knew your name before you were born, nailed to a rough wooden cross, slowly suffocating under the weight of his own lungs. And he chose to stay there for you. This was not a good man caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. This was divine strategy, planned before the foundation of the world. Centuries before that Friday, the prophet Isaiah had already written what would happen. He described a man despised and rejected, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. He said this man would be pierced for our transgressions, crushed for our failures, and that through his wounds we would be healed. Every word came true on Good Friday. He was walking, consciously, deliberately, into the most audacious rescue mission the universe had ever seen. He knew what was coming. He had known for eternity. And still, he went. The night before, in a garden called Gethsemane, he had fallen to his knees and prayed so intensely that the Gospel of Luke says his sweat became like drops of blood falling to the ground. He felt the weight of what was ahead. He was not numb to it. He was fully human, and he was terrified. That prayer in the garden was the first act of Good Friday. The surrender happened before the soldiers ever arrived. But they did arrive. Judas, one of his closest friends, someone who had walked with him for 3 years, led a mob of soldiers and religious leaders through the darkness of the garden. He identified Jesus with a kiss. A kiss, the most intimate gesture of friendship, used as a signal for betrayal. Jesus was arrested. His disciples scattered in fear, and the trial began. They had already made their decision. They just needed a charge. Witnesses were brought in, but their stories contradicted each other. The council was struggling to find anything that would stick. Finally, the high priest stood up and looked Jesus in the eye. "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?" Jesus answered clearly, "I am." Those 2 words were enough. They tore their robes and declared him guilty of blasphemy. So Jesus was taken before Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, the man with the legal power of life and death. Pilate questioned him carefully. He examined every accusation. He found nothing. "I find no guilt in this man," he declared, not once, but 3 times throughout the trial. He even tried to release Jesus by offering the crowd a choice: free Jesus or free Barabbas, a known murderer and insurrectionist. The crowd chose Barabbas. With no way out, Pilate tried one more thing. He had Jesus flogged, perhaps hoping that the sight of a beaten, bloodied man would satisfy the crowd's hunger. It did not. "Crucify him! Crucify him!" They screamed, louder and louder, until the sound filled the entire courtyard. Pilate looked at the mob. He looked at Jesus. He called for a bowl of water and washed his hands in front of them all. As if that could wash away what he was about to do, the Roman soldiers took Jesus and prepared him for crucifixion. But first, they decided to have their fun. They stripped him and threw a scarlet robe over his shoulders, mocking the claim that he was a king. They twisted a crown of thorns, long, jagged spikes, and pressed it down hard onto his skull. They placed a reed in his hand as a fake scepter. They bowed down in false worship, laughing. Then they took the reed and beat him over the head with it, driving the thorns deeper. They spat in his face. The Roman flagellum was not a simple whip. It was a brutal instrument. Strips of leather embedded with pieces of bone and metal, designed specifically to shred human flesh. Each stroke tore skin from muscle. Each strike left wounds that would not close. Roman law placed no limit on how many lashes a prisoner could receive before crucifixion. Medical historians who have studied Roman crucifixion describe the flogging alone as potentially fatal. Many prisoners died before they ever reached the cross. Jesus endured every stroke because there was still one more step ahead, not the full cross, just the horizontal beam. But even that alone weighed between 75 and 125 pounds. On a body that had been beaten, scourged, and starved of sleep for an entire night. Jesus began the walk through Jerusalem toward Golgotha, the place of the skull, a hill outside the city walls where criminals were executed publicly so that everyone passing by could see what happened to those who defied Rome. The streets were filled with people. Some wept. Most watched in silence, others mocked. The Gospels tell us that a man named Simon of Cyrene was pulled from the crowd and forced to carry the cross the rest of the way. But Jesus still walked, step by step, bleeding, barely standing, toward the place of his own execution. There are moments in history that are so raw, so heavy, that words feel insufficient. This is one of them. The Son of God, walking willingly toward his own death because he refused to leave you behind. They stretched his arms across the crossbeam, and they drove iron nails through his wrists, then through his feet. The cross was lifted and dropped into its socket in the ground, and the impact alone sent waves of agony through every wound in his body. Crucifixion was not simply an execution. It was engineered for maximum suffering over maximum time. The position made breathing almost impossible. To inhale, the victim had to push up on the nails in their feet. Every breath was a choice to endure more pain. The soldiers divided his clothes among themselves and sat down to wait. The religious leaders walked past and called out their insults. He saved others. Let him save himself. If he is the King of Israel, let him come down from the cross now, and we will believe in him. Even one of the criminals crucified beside him joined in the mockery. But Jesus did not come down. Above his head, a sign had been nailed, written in Hebrew, Latin, and Greek, so that every person passing by could read it. Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. But it was the truth. Even dying, even in that moment of ultimate weakness, he was still king. From the cross, Jesus spoke. 7 times, he broke the silence, and every word he said revealed exactly who he was. The first thing he said was not a cry of pain. It was not a curse on his enemies. He looked up at the sky above Jerusalem and said, "Father, forgive them. They do not know what they are doing." Not anger, not bitterness, not revenge. Forgiveness for the people who were killing him, hanging there in his own agony, watching Jesus endure suffering with a dignity he could not understand. Something broke open inside that man. He turned to the other criminal and said, "Don't you fear God? We are getting what we deserve, but this man has done nothing wrong." Then he turned to Jesus, with nothing to offer. No good deeds, no religious record, no time left to make things right. Just a name and a desperate hope. "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom," and said, "Today, you will be with me in paradise." Not someday, not maybe, not if you earn it. Today. That moment is the entire gospel compressed into a single exchange. A man with nothing, a savior with everything, and grace that required nothing but asking. This is what Good Friday means. It is not about how perfect you are. It is not about how long you have followed him, how many times you have read the Bible, or how clean your record is. It is about how much he loves you. At noon, something strange happened. Darkness covered the land, not a cloud, not an eclipse, but a supernatural darkness that lasted 3 hours. The crowds grew quiet. And then, at 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me?" These words shook people then, and they shake people now. In that moment, Jesus was bearing something no human being has ever fully understood, the full weight of every sin ever committed by every person who would ever live. The separation, the darkness, the silence of heaven, every lie, every betrayal, every act of cruelty, every quiet shame, every secret, every moment of failure you have ever tried to forget. He carried all of it, so you would never have to carry it alone. Shortly after, he said, "I thirst." A soldier soaked a sponge in sour wine and lifted it to his lips. And then Jesus spoke his final words from the cross, words that were not a cry of defeat, but a declaration that shook eternity to its core. "It is finished." Tetelestai. In the Greek of that time, it was a word used in the marketplace, stamped on a debt certificate when a bill had been paid in full. "Father," he said, "into your hands I commit my spirit." And he breathed his last. In that instant, the earth convulsed. An earthquake split the rocks around Jerusalem. And inside the temple, the most sacred building in the Jewish world, the great veil that separated the Holy of Holies from the rest of the temple tore in two. This was no ordinary curtain. It was 60 feet tall, 4 inches thick, the physical barrier between humanity and the presence of God. It tore from top to bottom, not from the bottom up, as a man would tear it, from the top down. God tore it himself. The separation between God and humanity, the great wall built by sin, had been demolished in a single moment, on a single afternoon, on a hill outside Jerusalem. The Roman centurion who had overseen the execution stood at the foot of the cross. He had watched men die before, many times, but he had never seen anything like this. He looked at the body on the cross. He felt the earthquake beneath his feet. He saw the darkness that had covered the sky. And he said, this Roman soldier, this man with no reason to believe, in a voice barely above a whisper, truly, this man was the Son of God. Joseph of Arimathea, a wealthy member of the religious council who had secretly believed in Jesus, went to Pilate and asked for the body. Nicodemus, the religious leader who had once come to Jesus in the middle of the night with questions, brought burial spices. Together, they wrapped Jesus in linen cloths and laid him in a new tomb carved from rock. A large stone was rolled across the entrance. Guards were posted. And the night settled over Jerusalem like a held breath. That is the question that every person who hears this story eventually asks. And the answer is this: because on that day, something happened that changed the eternal destiny of every human being who has ever lived. On that cross, the debt was cancelled. The sentence was served. The price was paid. Not by you, for you. Every lie you have ever told, every relationship you have broken, every time you chose yourself over what was right, every darkness you carry in the places no one else can see. Jesus took all of it, on purpose, willingly, not try harder, not be better, not earn your way back. Finished. This is not an invitation to be perfect. It is an invitation to be forgiven. And forgiveness is available right now, not because of anything you have done, but because of everything he did on that Friday afternoon. The stone was rolled, the tomb was sealed. But Good Friday is not the end of the story. It is the door. Because 3 days later, something happened that no one expected. Something that changed everything. But that is a story for another day. Look at the cross, not as a religious symbol, not as jewelry or decoration. Look at it as what it actually was, a place of execution where an innocent man chose to die in your place because he could not imagine eternity without you. If this story touched something inside you today, if something stirred in your chest while you were reading or listening, that is not an accident. That is an invitation. Respond to it. Write in the comments, Jesus, I love you. not as a ritual, as an answer to the love that came first. Because it was for you, specifically, uniquely, completely for you, that he stayed on that cross. Happy Easter. He is risen. If this video moved you, do not scroll past. Type "Love Jesus" in the comments right now. Let it be your response to everything he did on that cross. Subscribe to Genesis Chronicles so you never miss what God is doing next on this channel. And share this, because the message of the cross is too powerful to keep to yourself. We will see you in the next video. God bless you.